Hello and welcome to Marketing Edition with me, Jasmine Montgomery.
And me, Piers Guyler. Okay, Jasmine, what are we digging into today?
Well, we're talking today, Piers, about social media trends. I don't know about you, but my social feed has been taken over by this new trend, which is action dolls, right? So
Yeah.
have you had this too? So people turning themselves into like packaged toy figures. They've got bright packaging, catchy slogans, and they're like little objects which kind of define your personality. And brands are diving into it too. There've been some really funny examples, and some really brilliant ones. I think in a way the best one I've seen was Sephora, the makeup retailer, have done a really cool one. It's got like the black and white stripy packaging you'd expect from Sephora. And then it's got this really hot young woman in black. But what's so funny is like she's carrying a Sephora bag, and of course she's got some objects like makeup, but it's just so well thought through what she's got with her. She's got like one of those hair clippy things. She's got bubble tea, all kinds of really funny stuff that really just brings the personality of the person to life. And then like IKEA did one where they've got this kind of mumsy woman with her like blue IKEA bag and the plate of meatballs and an Allen key. And it's just really funny where they're bringing their customers to life. Or we've seen some retailers who have mascots, and they're like Marks and Spencer's has a little pig called Percy Pig, and Aldi has Kevin the Carrot. And so instead of doing like their customer, they've let their mascot be in the kind of action doll thing. But anyway, there are tons and tons of people are doing it. Sephora's really impressed me because it got over 100,000 likes. But basically, it led me to the question of, is this just fun and harmless engagement? Or is trendjacking, as we call it, hijacking trends, jumping on trends, social media trends, like really quickly, is trendjacking now a strategic must for brands? Is it a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, to put it another way, is it worth a brand jumping on the trend bandwagon to stay relevant? Or is it better to stay in your lane, stick to your core values and your long-term strategy?
I say yes, jump on board. I think social media is where culture happens now. There are 5.5 billion users of social act globally. It's not just where people chat. It's actually where they learn, where they interact with each other. It's where they learn, they fall in love with brands. It's where they shop. I think jumping on trends helps you build engagement. I think it helps you, gain brand visibility, engage with your audience, grow your presence. Because it can help you expand beyond your reach with your traditional audience, because trends bring new people into the discussion and bring new people into the brand.
Sure, but just because everyone's at the party doesn't mean you need to be the one dancing on the table.
I know, but trends are a way to show personality. When a brand joins the right trend, it feels modern, relevant, and maybe even, entertaining. It boosts awareness, it gets people talking. And let's be honest, no one likes a boring brand.
No, but no one likes a really try-hard one either. A third of consumers think it's really embarrassing, actually, when brands get it wrong. And there's some research read recently.
Yeah, by Sprout Social, we should say.
27% say you've got a 24 to 48 hour window to get it right. But if you miss that, you look like someone that's discovered memes 5 years too late. And if you think about brands, how long it takes to get things agreed, it's going to be really hard to hit that really fast timeline.
Yeah, but if you get it right, you might just go viral. So, if you take Airbnb and the Barbie movie, in 2023, Barbie mania was taking hold, and Airbnb listed the actual Barbie dream house in Malibu, kitted out with like bubblegum pink decor and rollerblades in the closet, and guests could book it for a stay. It wasn't just a nod to a trend, it was the trend. And I think it felt really authentic, playful, and bang on for a brand like Airbnb, whose whole proposition is about living like a local, embracing experiences. And the result was amazing. Barbie Dreamhouse became Airbnb's most viewed and talked about listing. It's brilliant marketing. It met the moment. It reflected their brand values.
Okay, fine. It was clever, but I could go through a whole host of examples of very serious companies, such as the Washington Post, Liverpool Football Club, Microsoft, even the UK government during COVID, doing really cringy things like TikTok dances that come across as really forced and lacking authenticity. It's a bit like, dad dancing at a wedding, which, I know a little bit about.
Oh, do your children tell you how uncool you are when they see you dancing?
They may mention it now and then. They may.
Okay, well, you're not going to admit that to our audience, I'm sure. But there are other really good examples. So Slack did, the sort of online kind of business tool. They did a foray into the TikTok trend of very demure, very mindful. So I don't even know if you remember that. About a year ago, I guess it started with a TikTok creator, Jules LeBron, who used the phrase to describe a kind of hyper-curated, really calm lifestyle thing. And it exploded with people parodying their daily lives using this line, very demure, very mindful. It was kind of a response to the whole brat summer that had been, cool before that. And Slack jumped on it. So they jumped on it with a video of someone using the app in a really overly serene way, organizing their channels. It was very clean UX, they're very peaceful. And it resonated because Slack is minimalist and mindful in its design. It didn't feel forced. They didn't just slap a meme on a random post. They kind of understood the trend and made it their own. And I think that's the difference between success and cringe in this space.
Okay, well, let's speak about cringe then. To celebrate Black History Month and the fact that a lot of brands were involved in this, Pure Gym created a 12 Years a Slave workout. Although it was, I know, unbelievable. Although this was done, it was done in a local branch. It was only done in Luton, right? Luton and Boswell's a place just north of London. But the brand Pure Gym still took, as you'd imagine, quite a lot of flack for doing that, actually. So it really can show just what can happen when brands can misjudge their response to cultural moments. Outrage, headlines, apologies, and it can really hurt the brand, even if it's one branch in one location.
Yeah, I think we can agree that tone deafness is always a risk. But, the digital world moves fast. One small step doesn't necessarily doom a brand. Audiences move on. And being overly cautious, I think that can make a brand look out of touch or even worse, irrelevant.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I'm not advocating fear. I'm advocating strategy. If you're going to,
of course you are.
If you're going to join a trend, make sure it makes sense. Otherwise, you're like a financial services firm trying to pull off a TikTok dance, and frankly, no one wants that.
Okay, but you can systematize this, I guess. So, I think if brands set up frameworks internally about what you can and can't do, how fast you can act, and whether it's on brand, you can be agile and smart and have a team that's kind of ready to jump on this and act on it. And you need to know what is or is not relevant to your brand, and you need very fast reaction times.
Okay, I'll give you that. But I just don't know if companies have the kind of internal culture necessary to approve creative and the time to stay abreast of trends. It has to be really fast, ideally within 24 hours. And most companies just aren't set up for that, Jasmine.
I know. I mean, I do have, that is so true. Like, we create stuff that's like, jumps on a trend really quickly. We send it to clients, and then it goes into this like black hole of like days of people noodling the copy or noodling the, and like approvals. And, if you've got a client with like a 5-day turnaround approvals process, obviously it's not going to work. So that is true. I will give you that. And the other thing that I guess I would counsel brands on is that you really have to know your platforms. So, I think TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook are the playgrounds for trend jacking, but LinkedIn not so much, and I think consumer behavior backs that up. So Facebook leads on direct purchases, which is great. TikTok dominates Gen Z and millennials. If you know where your audience is, you can tailor your response accordingly, but you have to do it on the right platform with the right tone of voice.
Yeah, and keep your tone in check. So, LinkedIn, as you mentioned, is for professional credibility. Twitter, whatever it's calling itself now, X, is more irreverent. And, you just got to know your channel, or you really do risk undermining your whole message.
So what are we saying? Trendjacking, high risk, high reward. Is it worth it? Is it a good idea?
I'm saying that if you hijack trends, you're playing in an oversaturated market. You risk alienating your audience and diluting your brand's core communication focus. And unless you have an empowered social media team behind you, you won't get your posts out in time.
Whereas I think that trendjacking is a great way to engage new audiences, to establish relevance with, where your customers' heads are at. I think it helps your brand be an integral part of the social conversation, and it helps you show your brand personality off. So I think it gets you noticed by influencers as well as customers. And it also gets you in front of new potential followers and customers. And you might just go viral.
Yes, but you probably won't.
That's true. That is true. But if, and I have to say, like, if I had $1 for every time a client has rung us up and said, what I want you to do is create viral content, I would be a rich woman.
It's like asking for a unicorn.
No, I don't think it's like asking for a unicorn. I think it's, in the end, I think it's like hoping to win the lottery. And you definitely won't if you don't buy a ticket.
Okay, true. But if you must play the game, then do it with a plan and a strategy. Protect your brand identity, understand your audience, and don't chase trends just to be seen.
Okay, agreed. But also don't be afraid to take a few risks, show a bit of personality. Culture moves fast, and if you wait too long, the moment's gone. So get out there and have a bit of fun, but do it fast.
In short, be the first-class version of yourself, not the second-class version of someone else.
And on that note, thank you for listening. I look forward to seeing your action dolls, our lovely listeners. Do send them to us, as well as any examples you've got of brands doing a great job of trendjacking. Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week for more marketing mischief.
Yeah, thanks very much. Bye, everyone.
Marketing Global Edition is sponsored by 𝐕𝐢𝐿𝐼𝐺𝐻𝐻, the ad generator for small businesses that serves you effective and affordable ads in seconds. And by 7 Brands, the international advertising and branding agency that has worked with clients around the world from Coca-Cola to Facebook.